Hey guys, what's up? My name is Jimmy. Thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel, Jimmy in the Basement, where Jimmy, plays his favorite game, World of Warcraft, in his basement. Mainly talks shit about it, but tries to be as informative as I possibly can with the information that I put in my videos. If you like this type of content, leave me a like, drop me a comment, share this video with your World of Warcraft friends, and consider subscribing. Peace. So I'd like to tell you guys a little bit about me while I show off my Havoc Demon Hunter's transmog here. I've been playing World of Warcraft on and off since 2004. I did take a hiatus, ending the season early in the first season of Shadowlands, and I came back in the season 2 of the War Within, and I have been able to play consistently and concurrently since then. I did receive a full Mythic clear of Manaforge Omega, as well as I am currently working on the cutting edge achievements, which will be a total of 4 raids in Midnight Season 1. I also pushed keys. I met the threshold of the 3,400 IO rating for the new reward system, bringing back old and new mounts from previous Mythic Plus seasons that have now become re-obtainable as per the rating, which you're only allowed to obtain 1 per season per warband, but at least it's still, something to work on incrementally. And I really want to appreciate these swords here. Lightsaber looking things. They really remind me of a green version of the Dragon Longsword from RuneScape. Shout out RuneScape if anybody's ever played it. There is a red version of this sword, though, that really looks like an HD version of a Dragon Longsword. I'd also like to point out that I am not the basic bitch Demon Hunter who has to put DH at the end of his name, like we don't know that they play a Demon Hunter, and I am breaking cultural norms by not using Warglaves. Okay, so on to the shit talking of Havoc Demon Hunter. I believe at the time of this recording, I'm around 280 item level. That gives me a decent idea of the power level Havoc is going to be had in Midnight Season 1. So yeah, I'm not just some like low B 240 item level bitching and complaining that Havoc DH sucks when I don't have enough gear score to accurately feel the power level. That's not the case here. I don't think Havoc sucks. It just needs some little minor adjustments and some fine tuning. And I think once that gets worked out, it'll really be a shiny spec to play. I've wrote down some points here of what I want to talk about. One of the big ones I've noticed that I was hoping would get better, as in lessen the impact of the Achilles heel of this, which is the Fury Starvation that Havoc has. Where Felsguard through Untethered Fury, you have a max Fury pool of 170, and Eldrachi Reaver, you're at a max Fury pool of 120. For those who've never played Demon Hunter, if you see that purple bar that's going up and down under my health bar, Fury is the main resource for Demon Hunter to build and spend to access their rotation. You build Fury by attacking and using abilities like I-Beam, and you spend Fury with Blade Dance, Annihilation, Chaos Strike, Death Sweep, and I-Beam. But I-Beam works as a double. The initial use costs Fury, but it generates Fury by all the damage that it deals. So yeah, Fury gives you access to the rest of your rotation. What I mean by Fury Starvation is that there are absolutely instances, especially when a fight goes on longer, that you have no Fury to use any of your abilities, and you're just sitting there and mindlessly auto-attacking until some Fury procs, till you can use your Fury. It doesn't feel good when abilities like I-Beam or Blade Dance comes off cooldown, and you have no Fury to use it, and you're forced to auto-attack and not use any of your higher priority main rotation abilities to do more damage. But this is a simple fix, I believe, where Blizzard could either tune Havoc to that their Fury spenders cost less Fury to use, which I don't understand why Blade Dance and I-Beam cost less Fury than Chaos Strike, when Chaos Strike should be a filler. Blade Dance and I-Beam are 30 Fury, and Chaos Strike is 40 Fury. Yeah, where Chaos Strike's a filler. I think Chaos Strike should easily be reduced as well. Or, if you're not going to reduce the cost of our Fury spenders, you should increase Havoc's ability to generate Fury. This brings me to my next point, which is Fellblade. Fellblade has gotten a lot more use with this season because the meta build is playing a full mover build with inertia for Havoc. You can technically still play a low mover, no mover build, but you're going to be at a significant DPS disadvantage by you not learning the rotation for the inertia build. Fellblade is one of the only abilities outside of Fell Rush that is able to proc inertia to get your 18% damage increase for 5 seconds. This lines up with Fellscarred's Demon Surges, especially, and also empowers the second Death Suite that we get through our Apex talents. You're leaving so much damage on the table not playing a mover build, which I think moving forward with Havoc, I think that players should be rewarded by playing the mover build versus the low mover, no mover build. So I think inertia's here to stay, but Fellblade just simply doesn't generate enough Fury for its use. Especially, Fellscarred has no talent nor passive. It has nothing that even gives it, let's say, a 5% chance to reset the cooldown of it, where Eldrachi Reaver has the hero talent Unhindered Assault, which, upon casting Vengeful Retreat, you automatically reset the cooldown of Fellblade. So you can just jump out of melee range with Vengeful Retreat, and then pull yourself right back in on your refresh Fellblade. Unfortunately, Fellscarred doesn't have that option. So to give you guys an idea of the Fury generation, Fellblade in the War Within used to generate 40 Fury. Now it generates 15. So, to do some math here, Fellblade refunding 15 Fury in a max Fury pool of 170 on Fellscarred. It is only 8.82% of max Fury generated, where in the War Within, it would generate 23.5% of our max Fury. And playing Eldrachi Reaver, 40% would be 1/3 of our max Fury. Now it only generates 12.5% of Eldrachi Reaver's max Fury. This is an ability that can be modified to help lessen the impact of the Fury Starvation, especially on Fellscarred, where it does not have the ability to reset its cooldown, because it doesn't have access to any talents or passives to do so. That would be something I would take a look at. At least I would go resort Fellblade back to what it used to be, or at least 30 Fury, where that gives you access to just enough Fury to cast an I-Beam if it's off cooldown, or a Blade Dance if it's off cooldown. Which brings me to my other point of the auto-attacking simulator that Havoc is now, which Havoc is not the only melee spec that succumbs to it, but this is one of the only melee specs I play, where it feels lazy. It feels like lazy design that they just buffed auto-attacks and said, oh, well, Fellscarred, you have Burning Blades. Okay, well, Eldrachi Reaver doesn't have Burning Blades because it's a Fellscarred hero talent specific. So I would do something to where we don't have to sit there and play auto-attack simulator until we just, like, randomly proc some Fury to hit some stuff. Bare minimum, Chaos Strike is a filler. It feels bad when you don't have any Fury and Fellblade generates fuck all Fury. No, it generates 15, which is half of what any of your minimum abilities cost, right? Because I-Beam and Blade Dance cost 30. So when I-Beam comes off cooldown, or when even just Blade Dance comes off cooldown, and you pop Fellblade, you don't generate enough Fury to hit any of those other buttons. So you're just sitting there auto-attacking until you get a Fury proc, essentially. And then you finally get to, move into your main rotation. So this, to me, fucks up the flow of Havoc. And where you're called Havoc, for fuck's sake. You need to be doing a bunch of damage, doing a bunch of shit, high burst windows like a motherfucker. Like, understanding what the word Havoc means and sitting there playing Auto Attack Simulator is not doing it. I wanted to bring up another point skimming over talents on Havoc for Fel Rush. There are two talents that stand out to me. The one being Fellfire Haste on the Demon Hunter tree, and where is it at? Dash of Chaos on the Havoc tree. So for Dash of Chaos, for 2 seconds after using Fel Rush, activating it again, assuming you have both charges available, will dash you back towards your initial target location. And Fellfire Haste is Fel Rush increases your movement speed by 10% for 8 seconds. These could be potential talents that are looked into reworking Fel Rush if Blizzard does not plan on giving Havoc back more buttons for their base rotation. Yeah, I would probably say more so Dash of Chaos because that's actually on the Havoc side, but I would give Fellscarred 3 charges of Fel Rush and Eldrachi Reaver 2, because Eldrachi Reaver will always be able to fall back on Unhindered Assault, which will reset the cooldown of Fellblade upon a successful Vengeful Retreat cast. So I'd say more so Fellscarred. It needs that. And, it seems enticing to take Dance of Chaos as a talent because it sounds convenient, but it's not a high priority base ability, so you're not going to take it. It's simply a DPS loss. That's why no Demon Hunter plays it. You're going to take the critical Chaos talent and the improved Chaos Strike talent right next to it, which buffs Chaos Strike damage. Chaos Strike is a higher priority over Fel Rush. Fel Rush is literally if you have nothing else to press, and or Fellblade is on cooldown, and you have I-Beam and your burst window up, and you want to proc Inertia. Another thing I noticed is that the very bottom of the Havoc side of the talent tree is that I think it's got too many talents there, too many abilities, overwhelming for newer players, and I think half those abilities or 2/3 of those abilities are completely useless. So in the Mythic Plus side build, you'll take Glaive Tempest, Screaming Brutality, and then Fire Aside. That's just way too strong to take anything else. Where Collective Anguish used to be on the Demon Hunter side tree, they've moved it over to Havoc, where I-Beam you'll basically have a Vengeance Demon Hunter mirror image your I-Beam and cast Fell Devastation, which does damage over time and will heal you. So, survivability, yeah, but Havoc doesn't have a survivability problem. So, I think this talent is virtually useless and just needs to be thrown in the bin at this point. And Shattered Destiny is alright. You extend your meta per 12 Fury spent by 0.1 seconds. Completely useless for Fellscarred, because Fellscarred needs to proc more metas to get more Demon Surges. This will only benefit Eldrachi Reaver because the idea is to stay in meta longer, so you're doing more damage. So yeah, I don't particularly care for Shattered Destiny. There's no way Shattered Destiny, even with Eldrachi Reaver, is more powerful than Glaive Tempest, Screaming Brutality, or a Fire Inside. Even if you were to swap out a Fire Inside for Eldrachi Reaver, Essence Break isn't the burst window ability anymore. It just does flat damage for 40 seconds instead of its previous buffing Chaos Strike, Blade Dance, Annihilation, and Death Sweep by 40%. That would be insane with the double Death Sweep in the Apex talents. So I'm all for making Essence Break great again. It's always been a talented ability. This could be up for grabs on being a base ability. for Havoc, but or just simply reworking how much damage Glaive Tempest does, Screaming Brutality does. It's really hard to not play a Fire Inside, especially on Felsguard. Mainly looking at Mythic Plus dungeons, or non-pure single-target fights. It's too strong of a talent now. It's always been too strong of a talent, but especially because Immolation Aura has now changed from fire damage to chaos damage, which means that it's benefits from higher mastery. So a Fire Inside is just way too strong now to take over that. So maybe Essence Break. I hope Essence Break doesn't fall in the graveyard like Fell Barrage did. I'm hoping it does come back to be useful, even if it's just for Eldrachi, but I still like it for Felsguard, because imagine Essence Break and Inertia, where if you were to bring back the 40%, you'd have a 58% damage buff to your Blade Dance, a Death Sweep, Annihilation, and Chaos Strike for those 5 seconds. So that would be huge there. This might be a hot take, but considering bringing back either Sigil of Flame, Sigil of Spite, or both. Because realistically, we only lost 4 buttons. 2 of those buttons being Sigil of Spite, Sigil of Flame on the offensive side of the main rotation of Havoc. Sigil of Flame was nice. It's not like Havoc had a complicated opener of like, okay, you throw Sigil of Flame down 2 seconds before, 1 second before the pull. You go through your Immolation Aura Tower charges, which is nice the way they reworked the Fire Inside, where you don't have to sit there and spam Immolation Aura up to 5 times because it resets the cooldown of it. You don't get to stack as many Rage Fires, though, but that's okay. I like that your fingers are not bleeding from hitting the Immolation Aura so many times in a dungeon to benefit from all of the Immolation Aura charges. So yeah, I would definitely bring back, I would say more Sigil of Spite, maybe. Make it a 90-second cooldown over the initial base 60, where there's a cooldown inside of, okay, Hunt's on cooldown, and Meta's on cooldown, something else to carry the DPS rotation to do some damage. And or Sigil of Flame coming back, because also Sigil of Flame on Felsguard would upgrade to Sigil of Doom and would proc a Demon Surge. So Felsguard lost an entire Demon Surge, losing Sigil of Flame. So I would maybe, consider working it out, or maybe making Sigil of Flame like a passive in the rotation, but bringing back Sigil of Spite as a cooldown within Hunt window and within meta when it's on cooldown. Basically, yeah, between Hunt and meta cycles. I think every DPS spec should have a burst window, especially a spec called Havoc. It should have a burst window, and that makes Essence Break absolutely useful there. My next point, pull up my notes here. I missed the Looks That Kill talent, which I-Beam was a guaranteed critical strike. Big damage right there. So what they replaced it with is Final Breath, which fully channeling I-Beam increases the damage of its final tick by 300%. So you're only rewarded if you allow I-Beam to fully channel. Same thing how Devourer works with the only way you get Eradicate, which is one of your highest damaging abilities, is you have to let Void Ray fully channel instead of just initially starting the cast. You might just get unlucky where that overlaps with a boss mechanic or a swirly on the ground, and you have to cancel I-Beam before it finishes, or cancel Void Ray before it finishes. But I would rather have Looks That Kill, where it guarantees critical strike. Also bringing up Isolated Prey, which is only a single target talent, really. When you're fighting one target, it buffs Chaos Nova, I-Beam, and Immolation Aura. I think the Chaos Nova buff is useless for 99.9% of scenarios, unless you're still fighting one lonely mob in Mythic Plus, or an ad on a boss where it's stunnable, and Chaos Nova stuns it by an additional 2 seconds. But I-Beam receives a 30% damage increase, so that's huge. And then Immolation Aura always critically strikes, which is also huge, especially playing Felsguard, where Immolation Aura really carries the damage on that particular hero talent. So that's a good talent. I think that's why it stays. It's not played in Mythic Plus because it only benefits the one target. And then this would help with Fury Starvation, is being able to take Chaos Theory, where Blade Dance causes your next Chaos Strike within 8 seconds to have a 14 to 30% increased critical strike chance and will always refund Fury. This is another single target talent, but I could see it being useful in Mythic Plus when you're using Chaos Strike as a filler, but it's just unfortunately not taken because we don't have any points for it. And there's just other abilities in the tree that you want to take that are simply more damage. So yeah, that's that. My next topic at hand would be the defensive side of Havoc, which is Netherwalk. I absolutely miss Netherwalk. Off topic, I really think Devourer needs Netherwalk more than Havoc. Havoc is pretty resilient. Havoc feels like I would say a glass cannon to me. Both Havoc and Devourer does have access to demonic resilience, which gives Blur an additional charge. But Havoc has Desperate Instincts, which Blur reduces damage taken by an additional 10%. So its base is 25, but if you play Havoc, it'll be 35. And additionally, damage taken below 35% health is reduced by 10% as well. So if you get chunked on something in a fight, like a pack in Mythic Plus, or just, you get hit by a mechanic in a raid boss encounter that puts you below 35% health, you'll at least have that. But I miss Netherwalk being an ability to have, to be especially an oh shit button. Like, you're a fucking hero class. Look at Death Knights, the original hero class. Look how many abilities they have to just completely ignore and cheese and like trivialize entire raid and dungeon mechanics. Oh, a bunch of magic damage? I just throw AMS on myself every 40 seconds. I get stunned. I could break it out with Icebound Fortitude, and coming out of Icebound Fortitude, I reduce all damage taken by 30%. A boss that has a suck-in or a knockback mechanic, Death Advance or Death Charge if you play Rider of the Apocalypse for Frost and Unholy, it completely trivializes that mechanic. It just skips that mechanic entirely. Netherwalk is a nice, oh shit, I stood in something, or I'm about to stand in something that's going to hurt or ultimately kill me, and Netherwalk just immunes it. Where the rework for Netherwalk would be that you couldn't attack with it. It would be it's a 3-minute cooldown, 6 seconds. You're like a ghosty, clear image of yourself. It did increase your movement speed by 100% to get out of what you stood in faster, so you don't get hit by it again. But it made you immune to all damage for 6 seconds, but you could not attack when Netherwalk was on you. Yeah, because Devourer really needs it, because you fart next to a Devourer, it dies. They're just super squishy, even being a leather DPS. They may as well be cloth. Havoc being a lot more tanky, I look at Havoc as kind of like the glass cannon a little bit. It would be nice as an oh shit button, and kind of plays to the hero class a little bit, having an ability that's super strong to distinguish between the hero class and non-hero class. I would prefer that. So yeah, I would say bring back Netherwalk in 2026. Also, another reason to bring back Netherwalk is because the dodge effect on Blur was removed, where you had a 50% chance to dodge, which applied to both melee and spell casting attacks. So you could potentially survive a deadly cast that goes off because you dodged it. So that's a good ability to have to guarantee damage, damage reduction, or to completely avoid damage, period. I know Darkness does that. It's more powerful in dungeon groups because it's increased by 100% when not in a raid group, so it's 30% chance to not take damage, but in a raid it's 15%. But you actually have to be standing in the darkness to benefit from the effects of darkness. You can't just play it on the field and then boom, you're affected by darkness. So Netherwalk would be a nice solo Demon Hunter only defensive cooldown, especially as an oh shit button, and or to cheese mechanics like Death Knights do. One of the biggest gripes I have is not damage at all. It's actually interrupts. I miss Fell Eruption, especially with Midnight essentially removing interrupt responsibility from healers, and except I think Resto Shaman's the only one that has an interrupt left, Wind Shear, which is on a 30-second timer. So even played optimally, where you have a Resto Shaman that is a complete banger, that is not only able to keep all 5 of you up in a dungeon, is able to kill it on interrupts every 30 seconds. And in pug groups where you're constantly overlapping interrupts, it's nice to have that extra ability, which was a base Havoc ability. You didn't have to talent into it. Where Disrupt's on cooldown, and Chaos Nova is on cooldown as well. And if a target was already previously stunned, Chaos Nova, because it is a stun, is less effective on that target, which Fell Eruption would be succumb to that as well. But Imprison only benefits CC's Demon, Beast, or Humanoid. So, which, yeah, you know, oh, you could say that's part of the Demon Hunter lore, yes, but it's completely useless in instances of dungeons like Pit of Saran. Everything's a fucking zombie. Everything's undead. So Imprison is useless there. Fell Eruption would go hard as fuck in Pit of Saran, right? How many groups have you wiped to because the Arcanist Cadaver didn't get interrupted in the 17 Pit of Saran and killed everybody because it exploded? Or the Shadebringer is just free casting Shadow Bolt, or the Cold Wraith is free casting Ice Bolt and freezing everybody and putting the movement slow on you. Yeah, so Fell Eruption would go hard on dungeons like that where Imprison is just not usable, and Disrupt's on cooldown and Chaos Nova's on cooldown. So, and it was 30 seconds, so it lined up. Also, with Disrupt, you don't have any talents that could go into Disrupting Fury, which Disrupt generates 30 Fury on a successful interrupt. That could be a rework where that's a base and not a talent. Not only would that motivate DPS players that play Havoc Demon Hunter to actually interrupt, and you would be rewarded for it with your main, your main resource, your primary resource, it would also lessen the impact of the Fury Starvation. But if you're not going to do that, I would at least bring back Fell Eruption so that we have another interrupt that's useful. I know you're going to say Sigil of Misery as well, but Sigil of Misery, there are targets that are immune to it, and it's a 2-minute cooldown because we don't have any points to put into improved Sigil of Misery to at least make it 90 seconds. So I would bring back Fell Eruption as another interrupt to lessen the load of other specs that don't have as many interrupts. Melee DPS, in my opinion, and tanks should be the absolute king of interrupts and being able to manage a pack of spellcasters. I'd like to wrap this video up here. I personally thought that the War Within Season 3 for Havoc Demon Hunter is where Havoc played, in my opinion, perfectly for both hero talents. It seems they flip-flop things around where Fellscar is just like AoE instead of being the single target bursty spec that it was in the War Within. And Aldrachi is now the single target talent where that was played in Keys, where you had some, you still had the, the funnel damage through Reaver's Mark and Wounded Quarry, and then you had the cleave through your passive cleave playing Havoc, because Havoc, in my opinion, is one of the best passive cleave specs in the game. But yeah, I think the buttons really should have been added back. I think Havoc was pruned just a little bit too much. and I think some of that needs to be slowly added back and reworked into Havoc space rotation. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any other tips of what you like and don't like about Havoc, absolutely leave it in the comments below. Like this video, share it with your friends who play World of Warcraft, and consider subscribing if you like this content. Peace.
Into that.